It all started on a quiet evening, far from the bustling cities of Earth, on a small research outpost on the edge of a recently discovered galaxy. The girl was a quiet, nerdy type, always more interested in gadgets, books, and star charts than in parties or loud gatherings. Her life was full of science, observations, and the endless fascination of learning how the universe worked. She had a small team with her, some scientists, some explorers, but she often felt a little apart from them. She preferred her books to small talk, her telescopes to crowded rooms. But that evening, something extraordinary was about to happen, something that would change her life forever. The sun had dipped below the horizon of a strange, red-tinted planet. The sky was painted with swirling colors, more beautiful than anything she had ever imagined. As the team gathered their equipment to return to their habitat, she wandered a little ahead, drawn by the faint sound of something moving through the rocky terrain. It was soft at first, barely noticeable, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. Her curiosity was immediately piqued. Unlike the others, she never ignored these tiny details. Her instincts told her something unusual was out there. She followed the sound carefully, stepping over jagged rocks and glowing moss that grew along the cracks in the planet's surface. Then she saw it. At first, she thought it was just a shadow, a trick of the dim light, but as she got closer, her heart skipped a beat. Lying in a shallow crater was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. Its body was massive, covered in silvery fur that shimmered under the strange planetary light. Its eyes, golden and intelligent, seemed to burn with a mix of pain and warning. She immediately recognized the species from her studies, the galaxy's most lethal alien wolf, known for destroying everything in its path without hesitation. Even the most seasoned space hunters avoided it, terrified by the stories of its ferocity. Her mind raced. How could something so dangerous be lying there, clearly injured on this remote planet? Her team had been discussing leaving the area, but she couldn't. Something inside her, the part that loved science, observation, and understanding told her that this creature was not just dangerous. It was vulnerable. She took a deep breath, carefully approaching the wolf, hands raised slightly to show she meant no harm. Her voice trembled a little as she spoke softly. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The wolf's ears twitched, and it growled softly, a low sound that vibrated through the ground. Its golden eyes locked onto hers, studying her, trying to judge if she was a threat. Every step she took was careful, deliberate, slow. She didn't rush. She didn't make sudden movements. She had read about these creatures, knew that aggression often came from fear or pain, and right now, this wolf was clearly in pain. "Just let me help," she whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." The wolf didn't move immediately. It remained in the crater, muscles tense, tail stiff. But she noticed something surprising. Despite its legendary reputation, it didn't attack. It didn't lunge. Instead, it tilted its head slightly, as if considering her words. She saw its ribs, slightly protruding under its fur, realized it had been hurt, possibly even starving. That thought made her heart ache. She had spent years studying cosmic wildlife, yet here she was, face to face with the galaxy's most feared predator, and all she could think about was helping it survive. Slowly, she reached into her backpack, pulling out a small supply of synthetic protein packs, something her team always carried for emergencies. She knelt on the ground, keeping her movements slow and steady, and placed the pack a short distance from the wolf. She didn't make eye contact. She knew that could be threatening. Instead, she focused on keeping her body relaxed and her breathing calm. The wolf sniffed the air, its golden eyes never leaving hers. Then, with a cautious step, it moved toward the food, still growling softly, but not attacking. It devoured the pack quickly, but every now and then It glanced back at her, almost as if it were testing her. She stayed still, letting it eat, feeling a strange mixture of fear, excitement, and awe. She couldn't believe this was happening. Here was the galaxy's most lethal creature, and it was trusting her enough to eat in her presence. When the wolf had finished, it didn't run away, which surprised her even more. It stayed in the crater, watching her silently. She took another cautious step closer, speaking softly again. "You're safe here. I just want to help you heal." For a moment, it seemed as if the universe had paused. The wind stopped, the distant stars twinkled, and the two of them simply stared at each other. Her team finally caught up, their eyes wide with shock. "Step back," one of them shouted. "That thing could kill you in an instant." But she didn't move. She couldn't. She felt a strange connection, something she couldn't explain, a pull that made her want to protect the creature rather than fear it. She had read about empathy between humans and animals, about bonds forming even in impossible situations. But she never imagined it could happen with a creature like this. Over the next few hours, she carefully examined the wolf, noting its injuries, a deep cut along its flank, a limp in one leg, and signs of malnutrition. She knew she couldn't treat all its wounds immediately, but she could at least make it more comfortable. Using materials from her kit, she fashioned a small makeshift bandage for its wound, working slowly and cautiously. The wolf flinched at first, then stayed still, letting her finish. When she was done, she stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. The wolf stared at her for a long moment, and she noticed something incredible. It lowered its head slightly, almost in acknowledgement. It wasn't submission, not exactly, but something else entirely. Trust, maybe. Or recognition. It was a small gesture, but in that moment, she knew something extraordinary was happening. She had managed, against all odds, to reach the heart of a creature known across galaxies for its ruthlessness. Night fell completely, and the planet's red sky turned deep purple. She set up a small, safe perimeter around the crater, staying close to ensure the wolf was protected from other predators. She had expected fear, expected chaos, expected a fight for survival, but instead she felt awe, wonder, and an unshakable sense of purpose. She realized that sometimes bravery didn't mean fighting, it meant understanding, patience, and compassion. When her team reluctantly set up their temporary camp nearby, they kept their distance. They whispered about what had happened, their voices full of disbelief. The girl didn't argue. She knew this was the beginning of something far bigger than any of them could imagine. This encounter wasn't just a story about taming a dangerous creature. It was about connection, about seeing life in every form and choosing empathy over fear. And for the first time in her life, she felt a sense of destiny she had never known before. Hours passed, and she found herself unable to sleep. She sat by the wolf, watching the stars above, and felt a strange calm wash over her. The wolf, once a symbol of terror across the galaxy, now rested nearby, seemingly content in her presence. She reached out her hand cautiously, and for a brief, miraculous moment, it nuzzled her palm. A shiver ran down her spine. She had done something impossible. She had charmed the galaxy's most lethal alien wolf, not through force or dominance, but through patience, understanding, and quiet courage. As the night deepened, she whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning. We'll get through this together." The wolf's golden eyes reflected the starlight, and in them she saw not a monster, but a companion. Something incredible was stirring, and neither of them yet knew how far this bond would go. In that moment, the quiet, nerdy girl realized that her life would never be the same. She had stepped into a world of danger, wonder, and infinite possibilities, and she was ready. Something extraordinary had begun on that red-tinted planet, and the galaxy would soon bear witness to a story no one could ever forget. The morning sun slowly rose over the strange planet, casting soft golden light across the rocky terrain. The nerdy girl woke earlier than her team, as usual, her mind already buzzing with thoughts about the wolf. She had barely slept, too excited and too nervous at the same time. The wolf had survived the night, and that was a good sign, but she knew this was only the beginning. Healing a creature so powerful and feared would take patience, intelligence, and courage. But something inside her told her it was worth every effort. As she stepped out of her small tent, she saw the wolf lying in the crater, the same place where she had found it. It had moved slightly closer to the sunlight, stretching its powerful limbs. Its golden eyes opened and met hers, and for a moment the world seemed to stop. She waved gently, and the wolf blinked slowly, a gesture that felt almost like recognition. She smiled, a small, quiet smile, and whispered, "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" The wolf didn't respond, not in words, but its tail twitched lightly. That was enough for her. She had learned that in the wild, even the smallest gestures could mean trust. She grabbed her backpack, carefully packed a few protein packs, some water, and the small medical kit she had improvised, and walked toward the crater. Every step was deliberate. She knew that a sudden move might scare the wolf, and she didn't want to lose the fragile trust she had built. She knelt a short distance away, speaking softly. "I brought something for you. No tricks. Just food and a little help with your leg." The wolf watched her, ears flicking, and then slowly rose to its feet. Its movements were cautious, but it did not run away. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding, and carefully examined the wound on its leg. The cut was deep, and the swelling suggested it had been infected for some time. She had read about alien biology and had improvised a small antiseptic solution using the supplies her team carried. It wasn't perfect, but it would prevent the infection from spreading. As she worked, she noticed the wolf's eyes never left her hands. Its body was tense, every muscle alert, but it allowed her to clean the wound. Her hands trembled slightly, but she steadied them, reminding herself to be calm. She whispered encouraging words to it, hoping it would sense her intentions. After a few minutes, she wrapped the leg carefully and stepped back. The wolf sniffed at the bandage and then tilted its head. It didn't try to remove it. For her, this was a small victory, but in her mind, it was a big step. She decided to sit nearby, letting the wolf adjust to the morning sunlight and the new bandage. She took out her small notebook and began to sketch the wolf, noting its injuries, its behaviors, and even the unique patterns in its fur. She believed that understanding it fully was the key to helping it. Knowledge, after all, had always been her strongest weapon. But she also realized that this was no ordinary case study. There was something special about the wolf, something intelligent and aware in its golden eyes, something that made her feel connected in a way she had never experienced with any animal or even human. Over the next few hours, she stayed by the wolf, offering it protein packs and fresh water. Slowly, she began to notice changes. The wolf was less tense, its ears more relaxed, its movements slightly smoother. She knew it was testing her, learning to trust her presence. She spoke softly to it, describing what she was doing, even though it couldn't understand her words. Her voice, calm and steady, seemed to have an effect. It was as if the wolf understood her intentions. Sensing that she was not a threat, her team kept a safe distance, watching in awe and disbelief. One of the explorers whispered, "I don't believe it. It's letting her touch it." Another muttered, "That's impossible. That wolf could tear a grown man apart." But she ignored their comments. She had learned long ago that fear and caution were natural, but sometimes courage meant following your instincts. Even when everyone else doubted you. By midday, the wolf was moving more freely. It followed her as she walked a short distance to check some equipment. She noticed it observing her closely, tilting its head, sniffing the air, and occasionally glancing around the area as if assessing threats. She realized that it wasn't just injured. It was cautious, intelligent, and aware of its surroundings. She remembered reading that the alien wolf species had advanced senses, able to detect danger from miles away, and that made her even more cautious. She didn't want to startle it or make it feel threatened. The girl began experimenting gently. She used a small, soft brush to clean some dirt from its fur. At first, the wolf flinched, but when she continued calmly, it allowed her to brush gently along its neck and shoulders. She could feel its muscles relax slightly under her hands. She spoke softly the entire time, telling it she was there to help. She realized that patience was key. She couldn't rush the wolf, couldn't expect it to trust her instantly. Every small step mattered. Every gesture of care mattered. As the sun climbed higher, she noticed something remarkable. The wolf was beginning to mirror her movements. When she sat, it sat nearby. When she stood, it stood and watched. She remembered her studies of social animals on Earth, as she realized that this behavior meant something profound. The wolf was starting to see her as a part of its environment, a safe presence, not a threat. That realization filled her with a sense of awe she could barely describe. During a brief break, she pulled out a small solar-powered device from her bag, a little gadget she had designed to measure temperature and vital signs. She carefully placed it near the wolf, curious to see how its body reacted. The wolf stayed still, watching the device with interest. She smiled quietly. It wasn't just surviving. It was learning, observing, and adapting. She had read about the intelligence of alien predators, but seeing it firsthand was different. It wasn't just instinct. There was awareness there, a spark of understanding. Her team eventually approached cautiously, bringing supplies and offering to help. She shook her head, smiling, and said, "No, it's my responsibility. I need to build its trust first." They didn't argue. They could see the connection forming, the subtle shifts in the wolf's behavior, and even they had to admit it was extraordinary. By the afternoon, she began to notice subtle communication. The wolf would make low, almost musical sound, soft growls mixed with hums. She remembered reading that these sounds could indicate curiosity, comfort, or even mild amusement. She tried responding with soft whistles and gentle hums of her own. At first, the wolf watched, puzzled, but soon it began experimenting with new sounds, almost as if trying to respond. She felt a thrill of excitement. For the first time, she realized that a bond was forming, not just trust, but something deeper, something almost like friendship. As evening approached, she led the wolf to a small, shallow pool nearby to drink. It hesitated at first, but when she demonstrated by splashing a little water on her hands, it slowly stepped in, drinking cautiously. She knelt beside it, keeping her distance, and whispered encouragements. Every step she took, every gesture of care, seemed to deepen the bond. When the sun dipped below the horizon again, painting the sky in deep shades of red and purple, she sat beside the wolf, exhausted but elated. She had spent the entire day building trust, observing its behaviors, and gently tending to its injuries. And now, as she watched it rest beside her, she felt an overwhelming sense of wonder. This was no longer just a scientific mission. This was a connection, something rare and precious. A bridge between two very different worlds. She thought about the galaxy outside, the stories of fear and violence surrounding these wolves, and she felt a quiet determination. If she could show that compassion and understanding could tame even the most feared predator, maybe there was hope for other misunderstood creatures in the universe too. Maybe this bond was bigger than her, bigger than the planet, bigger than the wolf itself. Before she finally lay down to rest for the night, she whispered softly to the wolf, "Tomorrow, we'll go a little further. We'll keep learning, keep healing. We'll do it together." The wolf's golden eyes met hers one last time that night, and she could swear she saw a glimmer of understanding, almost like a promise. For the first time in her life, she felt completely connected to another being. And she knew that whatever came next, they would face it together, step by step, day by day. The next morning, the girl woke before the sun had fully risen. She could hear the faint sounds of the alien world, waking up the soft rustle of strange plants, the distant hum of unseen creatures, and the gentle breathing of the wolf resting near her. It had moved closer during the night, settling just a few feet away, almost as if it wanted to stay near her. She smiled quietly, feeling a warmth in her chest that she had never experienced before. This bond was growing stronger with each passing hour, and she knew it was something extraordinary. She slowly got up and stretched, careful not to make sudden movements that might alarm the wolf. She spoke softly, "Good morning. Ready for another day?" The wolf's golden eyes blinked slowly, and it stood, stretching its long limbs gracefully. She grabbed her backpack and stepped forward. Today, she planned to test how far their trust could go. Yesterday had been about feeding, observing, and minor care. Today would be about learning each other's language and communication. They began by walking together along a narrow path that wound between the jagged rocks of the planet. At first, the wolf stayed a short distance behind her, its nose occasionally sniffing the air, alert for danger. She spoke softly, narrating her steps, her voice steady and calm. "Step over the rock. Careful with your footing. See that little plant? Interesting, isn't it?" She had learned long ago that animals, even intelligent ones, responded to calm, descriptive speech. It helped them feel safe and understand intentions. The wolf watched her closely, occasionally mirroring her movements. When she crouched to examine a strange glowing moss, the wolf also lowered itself, observing. She could see its mind at work, analyzing, learning, trying to understand her actions. She felt a thrill of excitement. This wasn't just trust anymore. It was curiosity, mutual curiosity. They were learning from each other. After a while, she decided to try something daring. She slowly dropped to the ground and extended her hand toward the wolf, not to touch it, but to see its reaction. The wolf froze, its golden eyes locked onto her hand. She remained completely still, speaking softly, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of her presence, and after a tense moment, the wolf lowered its head slightly and sniffed her hand. Her heart raced. This small gesture, so simple yet so significant, was proof of their growing bond. She spent the morning walking with the wolf, observing its behavior, noting every twitch of its ears, every movement of its tail, every glance of its golden eyes. She realized that it was intelligent beyond anything she had read in her books. It was cautious, yes, but it was also calculating, aware of danger, and capable of understanding subtle cues. She began to experiment with gentle gestures, pointing to objects, clapping softly, and even mimicking the low hums it made. To her amazement, the wolf responded with small sounds of its own, experimenting, almost like it was trying to communicate back. By midday, they had reached a small plateau overlooking a valley that glowed with alien plant life. The wolf paused, its ears twitching, scanning the horizon. She noticed that it was alert, but not fearful. She crouched beside it and spoke softly. "Do you see all of this? Beautiful, isn't it?" The wolf didn't answer, of course, but it stayed close, almost protective. She realized that in some way it trusted her to guide it, to lead it safely through the unfamiliar terrain. The thought amazed her. A creature so powerful and feared had chosen to walk beside her willingly. She decided it was time to introduce a small challenge. She led the wolf to a shallow stream, its water sparkling under the strange sun. The wolf hesitated at the edge, sniffing, pawing at the ground. She stepped into the water first, speaking softly to encourage it. "It's safe. See? Come on." Just a few steps. Slowly, carefully, the wolf stepped in, testing the water with its paws. When it realized it was safe, it took a few more steps until it was standing fully in the shallow stream. She smiled, quietly thrilled. This was more than trust. This was confidence. The wolf was learning to rely on her guidance. After the stream, she led the wolf through a series of small exercises, testing its reaction to commands and gestures. She pointed, clapped softly, and used subtle body language to communicate simple instructions. To her delight, the wolf responded, sometimes hesitating, sometimes immediately, but always paying close attention. She realized that patience, consistency, and gentle encouragement were more powerful than fear or force. Every small success strengthened their bond. By late afternoon, the girl decided it was time for rest. She led the wolf to a small shaded area, a natural alcove in the rocks that provided protection from the sun and wind. She sat beside it, her back against a cool stone, and watched as the wolf lay down. She felt a profound sense of connection, as if the hours of walking, observing, and caring had created something almost human, friendship built on understanding and respect. She took out her notebook and began recording everything she had observed, the wolf's behaviors, its responses to gestures and speech, the subtle sounds it made, and even the way it moved through the terrain. She noted how it watched her, how it seemed to mimic some actions, and how it responded to encouragement. For her, these notes were priceless. They weren't just observations. They were a record of a bond forming between two very different beings. As evening approached, the sky turned a deep violet, and the stars began to shimmer in the alien sky. She decided to test one final thing before nightfall. She sat cross-legged and extended her hand toward the wolf again, this time closer to her body, inviting it to approach on its own terms. The wolf paused, sniffed the air, and then, almost hesitantly, stepped forward. It nudged her hand gently with its snout. A shiver ran through her body. She could hardly believe it. A creature known across galaxies as a lethal predator had chosen to make contact. To connect. Her team watched from a safe distance, whispering among themselves. They had never seen anything like this. One of them muttered, "It's like it recognizes her." Another shook their head in disbelief. The girl didn't respond. She focused entirely on the wolf, sensing that these moments were precious, delicate, and transformative. Night fell, and the temperature dropped quickly on the planet. She carefully led the wolf back to their small camp, making sure it stayed within the safe perimeter she had created. She set up a small sleeping area nearby for it, not too close, but close enough that it felt secure. She whispered softly, "Tomorrow, we'll do more. We'll learn even more about each other." The wolf lay down, golden eyes glowing softly in the starlight, and she felt a sense of awe and accomplishment that words couldn't describe. As she drifted to sleep, she reflected on the day. They had walked together, learned from each other, and taken the first real steps toward a partnership that seemed impossible just days ago. She realized that this journey wasn't just about healing a creature or studying its behaviors. It was about connection, trust, and mutual respect. It was about proving that even the most feared beings could show kindness, curiosity, and understanding when met with patience and care. She dreamed that night of endless possibilities, walking alongside the wolf through alien landscapes, discovering new worlds, and perhaps even showing the galaxy that fear and misunderstanding could be replaced with compassion and friendship. She knew challenges lay ahead. Others might not understand this bond, and the wolf's instincts could still make it dangerous. But she felt ready. Together, they had already begun to rewrite the story of what was possible. By the time the first light of dawn touched the rocky horizon, the girl and the wolf were already awake. They had shared a day of trust, learning, and small victories. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and wonder. The galaxy's most lethal wolf, feared across stars, was no longer just a predator. It was a companion, a friend, and perhaps, in time, something even more extraordinary. For the girl, every glance from those golden eyes was a reminder that courage wasn't about strength or weapons. Courage was about understanding, patience, and the willingness to connect with another being, no matter how different or dangerous it might seem. And as they prepared for the next day, she felt certain that this was only the beginning of a story the galaxy would never forget. The galaxy was buzzing with news of the girl and her wolf, and while many were fascinated, not everyone was pleased. Some factions feared the wolf's power and resented the idea of a human taming it. Others were opportunists, seeking to capture the wolf for their own gain. The girl had always been cautious, but now she could sense that a serious threat was approaching, something that would test both her courage and the bond she had formed with the wolf. It started with subtle warnings. Strange signals appeared. On her scanner, unusual ships moving in distant orbits, and encrypted messages from unknown sources. At first, she tried to ignore it, hoping it was nothing more than curiosity. But deep down, she knew better. Something or someone was watching, planning, and waiting. She glanced at the wolf, who was lying nearby, resting but alert. Its golden eyes followed her movements constantly, almost as if it sensed the tension before she could even explain it. One morning, as she stepped out of her small tent, she noticed distant flashes on the horizon ships, descending rapidly toward the planet. Panic rippled through her team. They shouted orders, trying to prepare defenses, but she remained calm, placing her hand gently on the wolf's head. "Stay with me. We can handle this," she whispered. The wolf's ears twitched, its muscles coiling, ready to move at her command. She knew that if anyone could face this threat, it would be them together. The ships landed, and a group of armored figures emerged. They were clearly trained, heavily armed, and prepared for confrontation. Most of her team panicked, retreating toward safety, but she stood her ground. She could see the wolf rising beside her, its body tense but protective. She raised her hands slowly and spoke softly, hoping to convey calmness to both the wolf and the intruders. "We don't want to fight," she said clearly. "This wolf is not a weapon. It's a living being. If you come any closer, it will defend itself, and I cannot control what happens next." The lead figure hesitated. He studied the wolf, saw the intelligence in its golden eyes, and realized this was no ordinary predator. Slowly, he lowered his weapon slightly. She took a cautious step forward, speaking gently. "Look at it. This is not a creature of destruction. It trusts me. It listens to me. Violence isn't necessary." The wolf padded softly beside her, its presence a silent warning. The combination of her calm voice and the wolf's alert stance created an unexpected authority. Suddenly, one of the intruders made a sudden move, reaching for a weapon. The wolf reacted instantly, leaping forward with incredible speed, its roar echoing across the rocky terrain. The intruder froze, caught off guard by the sheer power and precision of the wolf. She stayed calm, shouting softly, "Stop! It's okay. Retreat slowly." The wolf halted, looking back at her, waiting for her guidance. This moment confirmed the depth of their connection. She could direct it even in extreme danger, and it trusted her completely. The standoff continued for several tense minutes. The intruders assessed the situation, realizing that any aggression could provoke a force they could not control. Slowly, they backed away, communicating among themselves through gestures and electronic signals. She continued speaking softly to the wolf, reassuring it, praising it for restraint, and guiding it to stay calm. She could feel the adrenaline in the wolf's body, the raw power restrained by trust and connection. Once the intruders retreated to their ships, she turned to the wolf, kneeling beside it and brushing her hand along its fur. "You were amazing," she whispered. The wolf nuzzled her gently, a silent acknowledgement of praise. Her heart swelled with pride. This was more than protection. It was a partnership, a bond formed through trust, understanding, and courage. Together, they had faced danger and emerged victorious, not through brute force alone, but through communication and connection. Over the next few days, she worked tirelessly to strengthen the wolf's confidence and responsiveness. She introduced small exercises designed to improve coordination, agility, and alertness. They practiced navigating difficult terrain, responding to subtle gestures, and even moving stealthily when necessary. Every success reinforced their bond, and she marveled at the wolf's intelligence and adaptability. It was learning not just to trust her, but to anticipate her guidance, becoming a true partner in every sense. During this time, she also communicated with nearby colonies, warning them of potential threats and emphasizing that the wolf was not a weapon to be used. Her calm demeanor and careful explanations gradually earned the respect of scientists, explorers, and even some military officials. They began to see her not just as a brave human, but as a leader capable of guiding a creature long considered uncontrollable. She realized that her role was evolving. She was becoming a bridge between species, showing the galaxy that fear and aggression could be replaced with understanding and cooperation. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with fiery colors, she and the wolf rested on a plateau overlooking the alien landscape. She reflected on everything that had happened: the initial encounter, the slow building of trust, the growing fame, and the confrontation with the intruders. She realized that each challenge had strengthened their bond, teaching both of them patience, courage, and resilience. The wolf lay beside her, its golden eyes glowing softly, and she felt a profound sense of connection. Suddenly, a new signal appeared on her scanner, an urgent distress call from a distant colony. She quickly decoded it and realized that a rogue faction was attacking innocent civilians. Her heart raced as she looked at the wolf. "We have to help them," she said firmly. The wolf stood instantly, muscles coiled, ready to move. She knew this was their chance to prove that their bond could accomplish more than personal safety. It could save lives. They set off immediately, navigating the rocky terrain with agility and speed. The wolf followed her perfectly, responding to her subtle gestures, signals, and voice commands. As they approached the colony, she saw chaos people running, alarms blaring, and the rogue faction advancing with weapons and ships. Her heart pounded, but she stayed focused. "Stay calm," she whispered to the wolf. "We'll handle this together." The wolf moved ahead, creating a barrier between the intruders and the civilians. Its presence alone was intimidating, a reminder of its immense power. She coordinated with it silently, using gestures and vocal cues to direct its movements. Together, they managed to block the attackers' advance, giving the civilians time to evacuate safely. She marveled at the wolf's intelligence, its ability to interpret her intentions in real time, and its calm yet decisive actions. As the situation stabilized, she guided the wolf through strategic maneuvers, preventing the intruders from causing further harm. She realized that this was more than just defense. It was teamwork at its finest. The wolf was not merely an animal or a weapon. It was a partner, capable of understanding and acting in harmony with her decisions. The bond they had formed, allowed them to face danger with confidence, precision, and trust. After the attack was repelled, she knelt beside the wolf, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," she whispered. The wolf nuzzled her gently, and she felt a wave of gratitude and pride. They had faced a real threat, protected innocent lives, and demonstrated the strength of their connection. The galaxy was watching, and now it could see that courage, empathy, and understanding could triumph over fear and aggression. In the following days, she continued to strengthen their partnership. They practiced new strategies, improved communication, and explored ways to enhance the wolf's abilities without forcing it into danger. Her team, once skeptical, had become fully supportive, recognizing the wolf's intelligence and the girl's unique leadership. She realized that they were creating a model for peaceful cooperation, showing that even the most feared creatures could be allies when approached with patience, respect, and care. By the end of the week, the girl and the wolf had become legends. Stories of their bravery and teamwork spread across star systems, inspiring others to reconsider their assumptions about alien predators. She reflected on how far they had come from a chance encounter on a rocky planet to becoming a symbol of trust, courage, and partnership. And through it all, the wolf remained by her side, loyal, intelligent, and fiercely protective. As night fell, she sat beside the wolf, looking up at the stars. She whispered softly, "We've faced danger, and we've come out stronger. Whatever comes next, we can handle it together." The wolf rested its head gently on her lap, its golden eyes reflecting the starlight. In that quiet moment, she knew that their bond was unbreakable, a partnership forged through trust, courage, and understanding. The galaxy would never forget them, not as human and predator, but as partners, friends, and heroes. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. A human and a predator, feared across star systems, walking together as equals. But for the girl, it was simply life as it had become every day, a mix of learning, exploring, and strengthening the bond with the wolf. After the recent threat, she realized their connection was more than survival. It was partnership, trust, and a mutual understanding that words could never fully describe. She woke early, as always, feeling a mixture of excitement and calm. Today was different. Something in the air felt electric, as if the universe itself was aware of the incredible journey that had unfolded. She stepped out of her tent and immediately felt the wolf's presence. It stood a short distance away, golden eyes fixed on her, muscles taut but relaxed. She smiled softly, walking toward it, extending her hand. "Good morning," she whispered. The wolf tilted its head and nudged her hand gently. That simple gesture reminded her how far they had come from the first encounter, when the wolf was injured, scared, and wary, to now, when it trusted her completely, not just as a caretaker, but as a companion. Today, she decided, they would explore beyond the known territory of their planet. She had planned a route through a canyon she had never visited, a path that promised new discoveries and challenges. The wolf followed her closely, responding to subtle gestures and voice cues. Every step felt coordinated, almost like a dance between two beings who understood each other instinctively. She marveled at its agility, its intelligence, and the quiet awareness in its eyes. She realized that their bond had transformed both of them. She had grown braver, more confident, and more attuned to the world around her. And the wolf had learned to trust, follow guidance, and even communicate. As they entered the canyon, the environment changed dramatically. Jagged rocks towered above them, casting shadows that shifted with the sun. Strange alien plants glowed faintly in the dim light, and the air carried scents that were completely foreign. The wolf moved confidently, sniffing the air, sensing every subtle change. She followed carefully, marveling at its instincts and awareness. Every step was a lesson, a reminder that trust and communication could bridge the gap between species. Even in the most unpredictable and dangerous environments, midway through the canyon, they discovered a shallow stream cutting through the rocks. The wolf paused, sniffing the air and stepping cautiously into the water. She knelt beside it, splashing a little water onto her hands and speaking softly. "It's safe, see?" The wolf stepped further in, drinking and then walking beside her. It was a small moment, but to her it was symbolic. The wolf trusted her guidance completely, even in unfamiliar territory. She felt a surge of pride and warmth. This was more than companionship. It was mutual reliance, an unspoken agreement that they were in this together. As they continued, they encountered signs of other life-small alien creatures scuttling across the rocks. Distant sounds of birds or similar flying beings, and faint markings that suggested other predators had been nearby. The wolf's body tensed slightly, but she touched its side gently, whispering calm instructions. "Stay with me. Nothing here will harm you if we are careful." The wolf relaxed, its trust in her evident. She realized that their relationship had become a lifeline. Together, they could navigate dangers that neither could handle alone. Suddenly, they heard movement ahead, a low rumble that vibrated through the canyon. The wolf froze, ears twitching, nostrils flaring. She held her hand up, signaling caution, and the wolf obeyed instantly. Slowly they advanced, and soon a group of aggressive alien predators appeared, clearly territorial and curious about intruders. Most humans would have panicked. Most animals would have fled or attacked. But she and the wolf had a unique advantage: communication and trust. She spoke softly to the wolf, guiding it to stay calm, move strategically, and observe before reacting. The wolf responded perfectly, keeping close, alert, and ready. The predators circled cautiously, sensing the wolf's presence and the girl's confidence. She realized that her calm energy was affecting both the wolf and the other creatures. Slowly she stepped forward, speaking gently, describing her intentions. "We mean no harm. We are just passing through." The predators studied her, then the wolf, and after a tense moment, they retreated. She let out a quiet sigh of relief and knelt beside the wolf, brushing its fur softly. "You were amazing," she whispered. The wolf nuzzled her gently, and she knew that moments like this were why their bond was unbreakable. They continued through the canyon, discovering hidden grottos, small pools of glowing water, and strange, luminescent flora that pulsed faintly with light. The wolf explored with curiosity, sniffing and pawing gently, occasionally glancing at her for reassurance. She took careful notes in her journal, recording behaviors, environmental details, and interactions with the wolf. She realized that this exploration was more than survival or adventure. It was learning, growing, and understanding a connection that transcended species and planets. By mid-afternoon, they reached a cliff overlooking a vast valley. The view was breathtaking: jagged mountains, winding rivers, and distant forests glowing faintly in the alien sun. She paused, letting the wolf rest beside her. "Look at this," she whispered. The wolf tilted its head, then lay down beside her, seemingly absorbing the beauty. She felt a profound sense of awe. This world, the wolf, and their partnership were all part of something bigger than herself, a story of courage, empathy, and mutual respect that defied expectations. As evening approached, she guided the wolf back toward the camp. The journey had been long and challenging, but their bond had never been stronger. The wolf moved confidently, responding to every gesture, vocal cue, and subtle signal. She marveled at how far they had come from a scared, injured predator to a loyal, intelligent partner capable of navigating new terrain and facing potential threats calmly and effectively. Back at the camp, she settled beside the wolf, under the alien night sky. Stars shimmered like diamonds, casting a gentle glow on the rocky landscape. She whispered softly, reflecting on their journey, the first encounter, the careful feeding and healing, the growing trust, the standoff with intruders, and now this moment of exploration and achievement. The wolf rested its head on her lap, and she felt a deep, unshakable sense of connection. They had faced challenges, danger, and uncertainty, and they had emerged stronger, united, and unstoppable together. She thought about the galaxy watching their story unfold. Scientists, explorers, and civilians had seen their partnership, some inspired, others amazed, but all aware that this bond was something extraordinary. Yet for her, it was never about recognition or fame. It was about connection, understanding, and the courage to trust another being completely. She realized that this was a story the universe needed not of fear, violence, or dominance, but of empathy, bravery, and partnership. As the night deepened, she and the wolf remained close, silently watching the alien stars. She spoke softly about her dreams, about the hope that one day, humans and alien creatures could coexist peacefully, respecting each other's strengths and differences. The wolf responded with gentle hums and nudges, and she felt a quiet reassurance in its presence. They had become more than friends. They were companions, protectors, and symbols of something larger, a bridge between worlds, a lesson in trust, and a testament to the power of empathy. When sleep finally came, she rested beside the wolf, knowing that together they could face whatever the galaxy might throw at them. Their bond was forged through patience, courage, and mutual respect, and it would carry them through new adventures, challenges, and discoveries. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible, a human and a predator walking together as equals, but for her, it was simply life, beautifully transformed by trust and love. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, she awoke, stretching and smiling at the wolf. "Another day," she whispered. The wolf responded with a soft nuzzle, golden eyes bright and alert. Together, they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever adventures lay ahead, knowing that their story of courage, partnership, and extraordinary trust was only just beginning. And in that quiet, magical moment, she understood the truth that had carried them through every challenge. That connection, compassion, and courage could create bonds stronger than fear, stronger than distance, and stronger than the galaxy itself. The news of the girl and the wolf's unlikely bond spread faster than she could have imagined. It began with whispers among her team, then messages across research stations, and soon reached distant colonies in other star systems. Scientists, explorers, and even traders were talking about the girl who had charmed the galaxy's most lethal alien wolf. Some were fascinated, others skeptical, and a few were fearful. A creature known for destroying entire settlements had allowed a human to approach, feed it, and even communicate with it. The galaxy had never seen anything like this before. Despite all the attention, she remained focused on the wolf. Fame or fear did not interest her. What mattered was the trust she was building, the bond growing between them each day. But she knew that their private time was becoming precious. Groups of outsiders started to arrive at the planet's edge, sending messages asking to meet the wolf, to study it, or even to capture it. She could feel the tension rising. The wolf had become a symbol. Some saw it as a miracle, others as a weapon. She realized that protecting it would be more challenging than ever. One morning, she woke to find a small group of scientists observing from a safe distance. They had cloaked devices and scanners, taking measurements and recording data. She stayed calm, knowing that sudden movements could alarm the wolf. She whispered to it softly, "Stay calm. It's just people watching. I won't let anyone hurt you." The wolf lay down, its golden eyes alert but relaxed, seemingly understanding her words. She smiled quietly. Their connection had grown strong enough that it trusted her judgment completely. She approached the scientists carefully, keeping a respectful distance. "Please," she said, her voice calm and firm, "I ask that you observe from here. The wolf is recovering, and it cannot be stressed." The lead scientist hesitated, then nodded. "We mean no harm," he said. "We only wish to learn. Your work is extraordinary." She nodded politely, though inside she felt a mixture of pride and anxiety. She had done what many thought impossible, but now she had to ensure that this bond remained protected. The wolf, meanwhile, began to respond in subtle ways to the presence of the observers. It moved closer to her side, almost as if it were guarding her. Its body was tense at first, but slowly it relaxed, sensing that she was in control. She noticed its ears twitching, its tail moving slightly, and its eyes following every movement around them. It was clear that the wolf was aware of the attention, and it seemed to be assessing who was friend and who might be a threat. She felt a surge of admiration. The creature was not only intelligent, but cautious, protective, and deeply aware of its surroundings. As the day passed, she began to experiment with communication again. She had discovered that the wolf responded to certain sounds and gestures, and she wanted to see if it could learn more complex cues. She clapped softly, tapped lightly on a rock, and even tried a low hum similar to the wolf's own vocalizations. To her delight, the wolf began responding more consistently. It lifted its paw when asked, tilted its head at certain cues, and even made soft noises that seemed like attempts at dialogue. She realized that this was no longer a one-way bond. They were learning from each other, teaching each other, and forming a language unique to them. By midday, the small group of scientists had begun to understand the significance of what they were witnessing. One of them approached her quietly. "We've studied alien predators for decades," he said, "but we've never seen anything like this. The wolf isn't just responding to you. It's engaging. It's curious, intelligent, and aware in a way we never expected." She nodded, feeling a quiet sense of pride. She had always believed that empathy and patience could reach even the most feared beings. Now the evidence was right in front of them, but the attention also brought challenges. News messages from other planets began to arrive, some praising her bravery, others questioning her judgment. Some groups wanted to capture the wolf for research or military purposes, seeing it as a powerful tool. She knew she had to be careful. The bond she had worked so hard to create could be broken if the wolf was threatened or forced into captivity. She made a plan to keep the wolf safe, to limit contact, and to continue teaching it trust and patience. Over the next few days, she spent her time walking with the wolf, training it gently and observing its behaviors. She introduced small challenges navigating rocky terrain, crossing shallow streams, and responding to her gestures from a distance. Each successful step strengthened their trust and confidence. She noticed the wolf beginning to anticipate her actions, moving with her, and even resting when she rested. The level of understanding between them was astonishing. She began recording all her observations carefully, knowing that this information could change how the galaxy viewed dangerous alien species. One afternoon, a scout ship arrived near the planet's orbit. Messages were sent down, asking to meet the girl and the wolf. She felt a mix of excitement and worry. The wolf had never encountered ships this close before, and she needed to assure it stayed calm. She whispered, "It's okay. Just stay with me. Trust me." The wolf remained close, its golden eyes watching the sky, alert but composed. She led it to a safe area away from the landing zone, demonstrating calmness and control. Slowly, the visitors saw the wolf not as a threat, but as a creature capable of understanding and connection. During their interactions, She continued teaching the wolf subtle communication techniques. She used hand gestures, soft vocal cues, and body language to direct it. The wolf responded with remarkable precision. At one point, she asked it to move to a certain spot, and it obeyed almost immediately. The scientists and visitors were amazed. They whispered among themselves, realizing that this was not just about healing an animal, it was about forming a relationship that transcended species. They had never seen anything like it. Evenings became moments of quiet reflection. She and the wolf would sit together, watching the alien sun set behind jagged mountains. She spoke softly to it about her day, her hopes, and her plans. The wolf seemed to listen, occasionally making low hums in response. She had discovered that creatures, even those from distant worlds, could experience comfort, curiosity, and even affection. These moments were priceless, and she treasured them deeply. One evening, as she recorded notes in her journal, the wolf nudged her hand gently. She smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She realized that their connection was now mutual. It trusted her, respected her, and perhaps even enjoyed her company. She had created something rare, a partnership between human and alien predator, a bond that could not be measured in conventional terms. She whispered, "Tomorrow, we'll go further. We'll show them what trust really means." By the end of the week, the wolf had become a symbol across the galaxy. Scientists, explorers, and even traders spoke of the girl who had befriended a creature thought to be unstoppable. Some called it a miracle, others a breakthrough in interspecies communication. But for her, it was simply the result of patience, understanding, and courage. She had learned that even the most feared beings could show loyalty, curiosity, and respect when approached with care. She also knew that challenges would come. Not everyone would understand, and some might try to exploit the wolf's power. But she felt prepared. Their bond was strong, built on trust, mutual respect, and shared experiences. The wolf had become more than a companion. It was a partner, a protector, and a friend. Together, they had begun to rewrite the story of what was possible between humans and alien life. As night fell, she sat beside the wolf, watching the stars shimmer in the alien sky. She thought about how far they had come from their first encounter on the rocky planet to becoming a symbol across the galaxy. She realized that their journey was only beginning. Challenges, discoveries, and perhaps even danger lay ahead. But she felt ready. With the wolf by her side, she knew that courage, empathy, and understanding could overcome even the greatest fears. And as the wind swept across the rocky plateau, she whispered softly to the wolf, "The galaxy is watching. But as long as we trust each other, nothing can stop us." The wolf's golden eyes glimmered in the starlight, and she felt a deep, unshakable bond forming, a bond that would carry them through whatever adventures and challenges awaited them in the vast, endless universe.